Welcome back to The Explainer. Listen, if you're gearing up to sit for the Cambridge AS and A-level accounting exam, you already know the pressure is on. The stakes are incredibly high and the margins for error are razor thin. Today, we are cracking open what is arguably one of the absolute most high-stakes topics on the entire syllabus, IAS 16, covering property, plant, and equipment. We're going to deconstruct this standard straight through the examiner's lens. We are going to look at exactly where smart students bleed marks, how time allocation destroys good papers, and precisely how top-tier candidates deploy critical thinking strategies to secure those elite top-band grades. Grab your notes, get focused, and let's dive right in.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that this isn't just friendly advice from a teacher. This is a direct, high-alert warning sourced verbatim from the Cambridge Principal Examiner reports. The classic mistake is providing generic answers not specific to the question context. Let me paint a picture for you. I want you to imagine two very different scholars taking this exam. Let's call them Alex and Sam. Alex is highly technical. Alex knows every formula, every definition, and can recite the textbook backward. But when faced with an open-ended evaluation, Alex just dumps generic facts onto the page. Then you have Sam. Sam is a creative, conceptual thinker, great at arguing a point, but totally lacks structural precision and timing. Both of them are going to hit a wall here, because the harsh truth is that mere memorization won't secure top marks. You can memorize the entire textbook definition of depreciation, but if you don't anchor it to the specific, complex financial scenario sitting right in front of you on the exam paper, you get literally nothing. Context is absolutely everything. So here is our strategic roadmap for today's session. First, we'll be decoding the core principles of IAS 16. Second, we'll master the method mark strategy. Third, we'll expose the top 3 examiner traps. Fourth, we'll unlock critical evaluation. And finally, we will build your exam success blueprint.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, Decoding IAS 16 Core Principles.
And if you needed a reason to pay close attention today, well, here it is, staring you right in the face. This is a massive warning sign for your exam prep. IAS 16 appears in every single Cambridge accounting examination series. Seriously, no exceptions. It is simply not an option to skip this or just kind of know the basics. Property, plant, and equipment form the engine of almost any business you will analyze. The sheer frequency and urgency of this specific standard mean you have to treat it as guaranteed points on your exam. If you master this standard, if you truly understand the mechanics behind it, you are walking into that exam hall with a massive, undeniable advantage over the rest of the pack. So let's break down what the examiners actually want to see when you apply this standard. Cambridge prioritizes analytical depth over superficial breadth. They don't want a brain dump, they want surgical precision. They demand systematic analysis and evidence-based reasoning. You need to understand deep causal relationships. For example, if a company decides to revalue an asset upwards, what is the exact ripple effect on depreciation expense in the income statement? And how does it shift the revaluation reserve in equity? You have to connect those dots. Furthermore, examiners specifically reward candidates who build cross-topic connections. Integrating your knowledge of IAS 16 with other areas of the syllabus, like ratio analysis or cash flow statements, is the ultimate hallmark of an elite student. When you see a command word like analyze, they want you investigating these relationships. When they say evaluate, they want you judging the impact of these relationships on the business as a whole. Moving right along, let's look at how we secure points even when things go wrong in Section 2, the method mark strategy.
Okay, let's really dive into this because this is a game changer. This is the middle tier of grading, and it is absolutely crucial for your survival on those brutal 9 to 15 mark questions. A method mark is essentially Cambridge's way of rewarding your logical, procedural thought process. Imagine you're tackling a massive, multi-part question on asset disposal and revaluation. You're stressed, the clock is ticking, and you make a tiny, silly arithmetic error in year 1. That one little slip throws off your final carrying amount 3 years down the line. If you just scribble down that final incorrect number, you'd get a 0, completely zeroed out. But by clearly and accurately demonstrating the correct analytical process and procedural framework step by step, the examiner can see your logic. They can follow your trail. By doing this, you can salvage a massive portion of those points. The procedural journey is literally just as important as the final mathematical answer. To guarantee you capture every single method mark available, you need to follow this exact 6-step procedural framework. This is your 3-step question scan expanded into a full execution plan. Step 1. Deconstruct the question. Highlight the command word immediately. Is it explain or to what extent? Those require completely different essay structures. Step 2. Extract the relevant data. This is the critical first hurdle where you find the hidden constraints in the prompt. Step 3. Select your analytical framework. Step 4. Execute with crystal clear notation. Do not make the examiner guess how you got your numbers. Lay it out so clearly a beginner could follow it. Step 5. Verify your results. Do a quick sanity check. Does this depreciation figure even make sense for an asset of this size? And Step 6. Present everything with the correct professional terminology. Grouping your workflow into these systematic steps bulletproofs your answers against careless point losses, especially when the clock is winding down.
Now we need to pivot to a high alert tone for Section 3, the top 3 examiner traps.
These are the actual pitfalls that consistently ruin grades, sourced straight from the principal examiner reports. Trap number 1. Confusing cause and effect. Students constantly mix up why an accounting treatment is applied with the result of that treatment. For instance, an asset isn't impaired because the carrying amount is adjusted. The carrying amount is adjusted because the asset suffered an impairment loss. Get the sequence right. Trap number 2. Forgetting to check format and presentation. Remember Sam, our creative scholar who struggles with structure? Sam loses huge marks here. Practical application requires professional formats. If your statement of financial position excerpt looks like a messy scribbled draft, you will be penalized. And trap number 3, which is the deadliest of all. Providing answers that lack specific context. As we talked about earlier, if you aren't directly applying your knowledge to the specific company in the exam prompt, your answer is useless to the examiner.
And this slide brilliantly illustrates exactly what we're talking about. Let's look at the left side. This is what our highly technical student Alex might draft. It's a generic, textbook-style definition of depreciation. It's factually accurate, sure, but it reads like a dictionary. Now let's look at the right side. This is the goal. This is a highly evaluative, context-specific analysis explicitly linked to the scenario. It explains why a change in the depreciation method specifically impacts this exact business's stated profit margins and dividend policies. Now, before we break down exactly how you transition your brain from drafting the left side to drafting the right side, I want to pause this session for a quick second. If you are serious about mastering these high tariff questions and you want to lock in your top grade, you need to subscribe to our channel, AC Exams IGCSE O&A Levels, at the handle @acetheexam_IGCSE. Hit that subscribe button right now and enable all notifications so you never miss our weekly Cambridge breakthrough strategies. All right, back to the drafting table. When you hit a roadblock trying to link your facts to the scenario, you have to use what we call the paragraph balance formula. State your technical fact, immediately introduce the specific data from the prompt, and end the paragraph by explaining the ultimate consequence for the business. That's how you build the right side of this screen.
Let's shift our focus to the hardest part of the exam, in Section 4, Unlocking Critical Evaluation. You have to understand the grading hierarchy if you want to unlock those elite high-order evaluation bands. Think of these as your assessment objectives. At the bottom tier, you have descriptive. This is just stating basic definitions and facts. It's the bare minimum. The next step up is the analytical tier. This is where you actually interpret the data and explain those causal relationships we discussed. But to reach the absolute summit, the evaluative tier, you must compare different approaches and, most importantly, justify your recommendations. The biggest leap you have to make in your exam prep is transitioning from merely describing what the data says to stepping into the shoes of a financial advisor and making a confident, justified recommendation based on that data. So, how do you actually execute that evaluative thinking? Let's do a quick visual workshop right here. Imagine you're looking at a complex depreciation chart for a manufacturing plant. Your job isn't just to read the numbers. Your job is aggressively evaluating the quality of that evidence. First, identify underlying limitations. Is the data outdated? Second, expose the assumptions management has made. Did they assume a 10-year useful life for machinery that might be obsolete in 5? You have to call that out. Third, consider alternative interpretations. What if they used the revaluation model instead of the historic cost model? How would that change the picture? And finally, assess the effect of all these factors on the final conclusions. Top-scoring candidates act like detectives. They constantly question the assumptions hidden in the prompt, and they back up every single strategic decision with hard evidence.
Let's bring all these strategies together into Section 5, your exam success blueprint.
All right, let's talk about exam hall reality. You are under immense time pressure, the clock is ticking, and you need to recall heavy technical methodology instantly. Here is a quick memory hack to get you unstuck. Create a custom mnemonic using the first letters of key IAS 16 terms. For instance, when you're trying to remember what to include in the initial cost of an asset, think P to D. Purchase price, delivery, installation, testing. Lock that in. You also need to deploy a last 5 minutes review checklist. In those final minutes, don't try to write a new paragraph. Scan your paper. Did you include your method notation? Did you link your conclusion to the specific company name? Use these mental shortcuts to secure your retention.
So here is your ongoing, non-negotiable action plan. First, you must consistently practice past paper questions. There is absolutely no substitute for doing the heavy lifting. Second, always contextualize your answers to the specific scenario provided. No generic dumps. And third, crushing Cambridge exams requires consistent strategy, so make sure you subscribe to Ace the Exam's IGCSE O&A levels at the handle @acetheexam_IGCSE. Turn on that notification bell right now for future exam hacks, because we are dropping continuous masterclasses to get you to the finish line. I want to end this session with a final provocative question that I want you to seriously think about the next time you sit down at your study desk. Are you truly evaluating your evidence, or are you just comfortably repeating the textbook? Be honest with yourself. It is time to elevate your game and push for those top assessment bands. I want you to drop your target exam grade in the comments below right now. Hold yourself accountable to this community. Keep practicing those method marks, stay strategic, and I will see you in the next explainer.